Yo, what's good, guys? It's Austin here, or Luna. So today's story time is definitely a crazy one and just all around ridiculous and pretty funny. So hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, leave a like on the video and let's get into today's story time. So today's story time all takes place back in ninth grade. Yeah, ninth grade, believe it or not. I woke up, I was a little bit late on this morning. I was getting ready really fast, but I was very excited because on this day, we were going on a school field trip. I'm sure most of you know the feeling, but when you got a field trip, it's a great feeling. It's one of the best feelings ever because, you don't have to do, classic schoolwork. You're not stuck in a building all day. You get to go out and kind of experience the world with your whole class. It's cool. And we were going on an art museum tour. Not the most fun thing, but I was stoked to just be out of the building and doing something other than school. So I woke up a little bit late this morning, like I said earlier. I got ready really fast and I got on the bus to school. Now, I got to school, and unfortunately, we still had a few hours of actual school before the field trip, because the field trip was for my art class, and I didn't have art until about 11 a.m. So the first couple hours were pretty slow and boring, but then I got to art class, and this was time for the field trip. Now, pretty much all of my friends were in my art class that I hung out with consistently at school, and I had this one friend. We'll just call him Trevor, okay? Trevor was a very good friend of mine throughout all of middle school and most of high school, and Trevor was also very, very, very much not the best influence on me. So we get to art class, me and Trevor sat at the same table with a couple of our other friends, and we're all just talking about how we're stoked to go on this field trip and pretty much skip the whole rest of the day of school at this art museum. And then Trevor gets a big grin on his face, and he looks at me with this smile. And it was just such a devious smile. Like, I knew he was up to something. So I lean over and I'm like, Trevor, why are you smiling like that? And then he goes, check your phone. I'm like, okay. So I open up my phone and he sends me a photo in my messages. And the photo is just a picture of some acid in his hand, like some tabs in a baggie. And I was like, what is this? He goes, come on, man, don't play dumb. You know what that is. I was like, yeah, but why are you sending me that? He's like, dude, that's my stuff. And I was like, cool, man. When did you get it? He's like, a couple days ago. I brought some with me. I'm going to take some before the field trip. You want one? I was like, what? You brought that with you? He's like, yeah, man. And then my other friend at the table hears us talking, and he's like, what do you got? And then Trevor tells my other friend, and my other friend tells our other friend at the table, and pretty soon the whole table knows about what Trevor has, and everybody wants in. Now, Trevor only had 2 tabs, and he really wanted me to do this with him. He kept asking me. So I gave in. Me being in ninth grade and pretty naive and not really any care in the world, I was like, yeah, why not? So me and Trevor, when we got on the bus for this art museum field trip, we went to the back and he pulled out the tabs and we both took one together. And I did not know what to expect because I had done it before this, but I had never done it on a school field trip like this. So we get to the art museum about 25 minutes later. We go in there. It hadn't really kicked in or anything yet. I was feeling fine. Still had some time before it kicked in. And about 30 minutes later, after arriving to the art museum, it started to come on pretty gradually. At first, things just looked more interesting, and, there was a little bit of slight visuals going on, but nothing too crazy or overwhelming. I also just felt pretty light and fuzzy, pretty happy. But then, as it progressed, the field trip and the acid trip, things got a little bit more interesting, I would say. About 30 minutes later, things really started to kick on with this trip. And let me tell you, tripping is one thing, but tripping at an art museum is a whole different thing. I was looking at paintings that were already hyper realistic and super beautiful, and they legit looked like I was watching an LCD screen. Like they were moving. I remember at one point, I found this painting in the corner of the room, and it was of a clown smiling, and it looked really creepy to begin with. But then as I stared at it, it started to smile even more, slowly. And I was like, okay, I'm getting away from this. So I walked away and went to another painting, thinking to myself, okay, I didn't just see that clown smile at me. That was, that was nothing. I just imagined that. That was nothing. So I walked over to another painting, and this painting was of 2 people sitting on a bench in a city, and there was cars passing by in the painting. And when I looked at the cars, they were moving. And then I would look away and look back, and they'd be back in their original positions, and they would move again as I stared at them longer. Basically, long story short, I was tripping balls. And I walked over to Trevor after I noticed this, and I was like, yo, this is trippy. He's like, yeah, man, some of the paintings I'm looking at, they're kind of moving a little bit. And I was like, yeah, man, me too. And we start laughing, really loud. And the teacher walks over, and she goes, guys, really? It's a museum. Keep it down. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. And then she walks away, and me and Trevor just look at each other, and we start uncontrollably laughing again. And she walks back over and she goes, "Guys, are you going to be a problem? Can you stop? Like, have some respect." And we just couldn't control ourselves for some reason. Like, we just would not stop laughing throughout the rest of the tour. It got to a point where I was holding my mouth with my hand because I literally couldn't stop laughing because me and Trevor were just tripping absolute balls, and everything we saw was just funny to us. Like, every painting we'd look at, we'd see something different, and we'd laugh because of it because nobody else saw what we were seeing. And I genuinely felt bad. Like, I understand that it was a museum and I should have been quiet, and I feel bad about it to this day, but I just could not control myself with the laughter. And it got to the point where the employees started getting pissed at us. One of them walked up to us and was like, "Hey guys, last warning, one more time and you're kicked out." And then guess what happened? We laughed one more time at a different painting because it was moving and we were both tripping. And our teacher walked up to us and was like, "All right, guys, you're done." And she escorted us out of the museum back to the bus. And we had to sit on the bus for an hour tripping absolute balls while we waited for our class to be done in the museum. And yeah, the whole time we were just in the back of the bus jamming out to the radio with the bus driver and just absolutely tripping and looking around at all the things on the street and all the signs and stuff. And our bus driver probably thought we were literally crazy because he was talking to us the whole time, and we must have looked insane because we'd literally be talking to him and then we'd turn around and stare out the window aimlessly and just not say a word until we see something really trippy, and then we would laugh at it. And we all had no idea what we were laughing at. We just were tripping, except the bus driver, so he probably thought we were crazy. But yeah, waiting in that bus did not feel very long. I'm guessing it was just the tripping that made it go by quickly, because it felt like just 20 minutes later our teacher and our whole class was coming back to the bus, but really a whole hour went by. And yeah, they got back on the bus, we went back to school, and at that point the school day was over, so literally we got off the bus, went into school, went to our lockers, got our backpacks, and then left school and got on our buses to go home. So yeah, after we got back to school, went to our lockers, and then went outside to get on our buses. Me and Trevor went our separate ways. I was definitely still tripping a bit, but not nearly as bad as it was like an hour and a half ago. And then I went about the rest of my day and had a pretty normal day, believe it or not. But I just can't believe we didn't get caught and that the teacher never suspected anything, because we were giggling like fucking idiots and staring at the paintings and pointing at them, being like, "Dude, did you see that?" Like, I don't know how no one thought of, oh, maybe they're tripping balls. But yeah, guys, moral of the story is, do not do what me and Trevor did in this story time. That's simply that. And yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed this. Thought it was a crazy one. If you did, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below, and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys all later. Peace.
Don't want a single commitment. I won't give into the pressure. I won't